a simple box with patterns for 3D printing. First we use the cube and we go to front view and select X-ray so that we can see inside. We add a solidify modifier and adjust it so that the wall thickness is appropriate. We apply the modifier. Now we can do from edit mode we can do a Control R loop cut and mark where we want the lid to be. Now this will only cut the outside edge, so after this we have to use the knife tool and select occlude or unselect occlude geometry so that it cuts all the way through. Now we can see it's done its job there. Back to back into edit mode, and we look for the wireframe view so we can select the back faces at the same time as the front faces by selection. And now we have two separate objects. We can name the top one lid and the bottom one box if you like. Back in edit mode we can now hide the box part and we're just left with the lid. We'll select the in edit mode, we will select the lines or the edges both inside and out and bridge loop the edges. That's put a face there for us, that finishes it off. So we're going to inset and scale or make the inside face a little bit smaller just so that we have clearance on the box when we put the lid on. We drag down. Now we'll do it twice so that we can put a slight taper on the second part. We just scale that, but I've scaled it too much. I'm just going to Control Z and do it again so it's ever so slightly. It'll make it nice and easy to put the lid on. Inset, and we're going to make a lip around the box edge. We're going to wireframe view and we're going to extrude this going up so that we've still got enough room at the top for a pattern. We'll scale that in a bit to make the edges look a bit nicer. It looks a bit smoother. And just go back to 1 on the Z axis there, just so that we don't scale that as well. Pays to check that when you're doing any scaling, just to make sure that you haven't put it out of shape. We're looking down on the top view and we're going to inset, and the first inset is a rim and the next ones are going to form a pattern on the lid. So just keep doing this several times and just guess the spacing. Come in quite small. It'll be clear why we're doing this in a little while. Now we're going to select the line selection tool and we're going to select every second line. We can now look at it from the front view, and in wireframe or X-ray we can just go GZ, grab on the Z axis, move it down a little bit, don't move it all the way otherwise it will come through the bottom. Switch those off, back to solid view. Now we need to select the ridges around it, so we're going to we're going to set the 3D cursor in the middle of the object, so we highlight the edge and then selection, cursor to selection. We can select the tops of all of these now, all these ridges, and we're going to put a bevel on them. And the bevel will just make a slightly flat surface that will print a little bit neater than a sharp edge. You can adjust that with the menu, but we only need one segment. We don't want many segments. Select all of those, and now we're going to zero them all to the top, the Z axis. Scale 0Z to make all the peaks the same. Okay, now that should be right, but in reality I made a mistake, but we'll fix that in a little while. Okay, we're going to look in the top view, numpad 7, and we're going to add some text, and in the text we're going to center it, and then we're going to give it some extrusion in the geometry, extrude, just to give it a bit of depth so that we can see what we're doing, and we'll adjust that to fit the box lid in a little while. We now want to change the font type, so we'll go look at it from on the top again. We'll get to there in a moment. Find the font folder and the fonts menu, click on that and slide down till you find your webdings or symbols. Now if Blender will select them and show you the pictures, then they can be printed. So I'm just going to type in a whole heap of letters to find the different symbols, and the one that, there's two that I like. The one is the star, and I'll have a look at those. I'm checking all the pictures to see whether there's any better for what I want. I'm just going to backspace delete the ones I don't want. I want to have a look at the star, and if I do the capitals I get a different range of symbols, and I like the I symbol. So I've got two symbols that I would like to compare and see how I'll use them. I'll get rid of all the others by backspacing. These are you'll see the two together. I think I'll use the eye for the lid and the star for the sides. That's just for me. You can use whatever you like. I'm going to numpad 7 and look down from the top and scale it up and position it using the GZ and the G and the S keys, keyboard shortcuts. Have a look at it, make sure it's okay. We're going to convert it to mesh, very important, because we want to be able to boolean or join them together. We're going to do a few things with the mesh just to make sure it's cleaned up and it doesn't cause any problems with the boolean or the joining. So we're going to clean up and merge by distance. That's the first one and most important, but there's these other ones can sometimes help. Not always, but sometimes. I've only decimated the geometry a little bit. I'm really just worried about getting the vertices to not be on top of each other or too close. One of them removes 0 faces, and where we can also fill holes if there are any. Maybe there's not, so it doesn't always do something. Right, now I want to find the center on the top of this symbol so that I can make the top surfaces the same. I'm going to select 2 points, 2 vertices that I know that are going to be the central point between the two. So I'll select the top one there and the top one on the other side and then cursor to selected. So the cursor now is in the middle, and we're going to set the origin to the cursor. So now the cursor is on that top face in the middle of the object. Right, now we put the cursor back to the object, and now we've brought the top surface of the eye down to the same level. So now, because we've changed these settings, we're going to scale it to the cursor. So we're going to get the bottom, or just look at it from the side view, and we want to be able to see in the wireframe where the peaks and troughs are. So we're just going to scale it on the Z and come so that there is still some plastic underneath the troughs of the peaks there, that we've got those ridges. Now that should be pretty close to what we want. There's something not quite right. Our eye is not exactly the same as the peaks on those ridges. So this is where I made the mistake. So I'm going to scale 0 again on these, so I'm just going to make sure that my select all the faces again, the ridges, and now I'm going to go scale Z0. I'm in the 3D cursor, so when I click S, Z0, they should now be all exactly the same. And when I look at it again now on the top, the edges are the same. Previously I forgot to set the 3D cursor at the top. That's getting pretty close to finished. Just need to do the boolean. So we select the lid and then the eye with the eyedropper, and union. We're going to union it together. And now we're going to apply because we're still in object mode. So we check it first to make sure there's no real obvious problems. Apply. And we check again to make sure there's no obvious problems. Switch the original eye off. So that all looks like there's no distortion and everything is correct, the correct levels and so on. If you don't have 3D Print Toolbox on your computer, just go and tick the little box, the little white box you can see up there, make sure it's on. We're just going to check the lid. We'll have to do this again later, but we want to make sure that there is no real problems in this. After a boolean, it doesn't hurt to do a bit of a cleanup, and it just gets rid of badly placed vertices. We'll check all again after we've done a few. I was going to try and get rid of 0 faces, but it doesn't seem to, they seem to be still there, so I'm not going to worry about them. The printer software will fix that. Clean up, make manifold. This is important. They must be all 0 on the bottom. If they're not, just click again to make sure they are all 0. And right, now we're going to switch the lid off and the box on so that we can now fix the box. The lid is all ready. Select the lines at the top and then bridge edge loops. Now we need to add some text. I'm going to just make the 3D cursor in the middle of the object. Add text, rotate on the x-axis so we can see the text. We'll put it in the center, and now we'll give it some extrusion. Find geometry, extrude. Okay, now we're going to go to our fonts and grab that star again, or another symbol that you like that will work in Blender. Okay, now this first one is going to be different to the second one. We're not going to edit the star at all, other than just scale it, etc., and put it in the middle here. But we're only going to have it extruding out just a tiny little bit. I'm going to scale it on the Z-axis so that I can just fit it neatly onto the face. I'm only going to have it sticking out about 1 millimeter. Anything more, and we have to use supports in the printer, and they quite often look not as nice, not as smooth when you break them off. Scale it so that there's just a tiny little bit inside the box edge, the box wall, and a little bit sticking out. Right, now we'll boolean it later. We'll copy this one, Shift D, and we'll move it to the other side and put it in the same position on the other side. Next one, we're going to copy the same star, but we're going to edit the second one, so you've got something to compare it to. I'll have to change the global point to individual origins so that it spins on itself. We can now scale it up, scale it thicker, put it in roughly the right position, but scale it on the x-axis. All right, now that'll give us plenty to work with. We'll now view in local view. Now the local view separates the object away from everything else, so you can work on it by itself. We're going to add a cube in this, and we're going to put the cube over the top. So the cube has to be an X-ray view so we can see it. So we just move the cube so it fits over the star, looking at it from front view and side view. It's 1 and 3 on your keypad. Right, now I've renamed my box to shape, and I'm looking for mesh deform. I've got the star selected, and now I'm going to, in the modifier, I'm going to select the box, and now I can scale the box to shape the object inside. So you can see the object changing in the X-ray view. We're going to put a taper on all the faces of the star so that it prints neater. I'll have a sample to show you this at a later date to make sure that it does print how we expect it to. When you have angles on the sides, the printer doesn't need as much support to print it neatly. So I'm going to scale it again on the x-axis, and that will make the angles a little bit more, as you can see there. Position it so that it's just inside the wall of the box. And this is what we're going to try for the printing. We'll copy that, move it across, and we're going to rotate it 180 degrees. And then put it back into the box so it's roughly the same as the other side. So we've got something to boolean to. It must be inside the box edge a little bit. Right, we're going to boolean. We've selected the box. Now we're going to boolean the stars. This one should work all right. Now I've forgotten to convert the other 2 flat stars, so we've got to convert them to mesh first. Now we can add the booleans to each of the stars. Now I'm not applying the booleans yet because I want to have a look at the whole thing together to make sure that there are none of the symbols are broken in the mesh. We can look around, they all seem pretty good, so we're going to apply all of these when we've finished. We're going to apply all of these from the top down. All looks good, so we go apply, 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 apply. All is good. Now we can switch the original patterns we used off, just hide them. That's what all I do. Make sure there's no shimmering on any of those so that doesn't messes up the print toolbox. We're going to set the origin of the box to the base. We selected the face and then put the 3D cursor there and then change the origin. Now we've shifted the 3D cursor to the world origin, and we've moved selection to 3D cursor. Now the lid of course is inside now because we've changed it. The main box, we just move that out to the side, and we're going to, I notice the origin, the little yellow dot, is not on the top face anymore, so we're going to need to select 2 faces on the top, and I'm just selecting 2 edges, and then cursor to selection, and now origin to cursor, and then cursor to world origin, and now object to cursor, and then we just slide it out. Now the bases of both these objects are on exactly the same plane, so the printer will be able to print them without adding lots of support. We now need to join these 2 together so that the printer sees them as one object. That way the lid will always fit the box nicely. Control+J is what we want to do, and that will join them as one object. So we'll rename that to whatever, box lid sample. Okay, we do the 3D print, and we're going to check all, and now make manifold, and they're all 0 on the bottom, which is nice. We'll check the volume. If there is no volume, you need to scale it just a fraction. And now export, and now that should go to the printer and print quite nicely. Save your project, of course. Happy printing.